world's largest car maker, Toyota, is revving back to health after last year's natural disasters. Its first quarter profits surged to a 4-year high, and the company aims to build nearly 10 million cars this year. Well, Mike Firn joins us now live from Tokyo. Mike, Toyota is doing great, but it is still being somewhat cautious in its outlook. Why is that?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. One thing you have to bear in mind, obviously this is a year-on-year comparison, so although it did fantastic in terms of its revenue, in terms of its net income, this is compared to a time when it didn't have any parts, it couldn't make the cars, the forecourts were empty. Honda had the same problems, and it also didn't raise its full-year forecast, even though it did quite well. Nissan didn't really have much of a parts shortage a year earlier, and so it didn't have much of a gain this year. The other thing to remember is that they've got a problem with Forex. Although Toyota is raising its sales target by volume, it's not raising it by value. The reason being the rising yen is eroding the value of overseas sales.
Toyota retook the top spot as the world's best-selling car maker in the 3 months through June, revenue increasing in all its global sales regions. A year earlier, it had very few Prius hybrids and Corolla saloons to sell because the March earthquake in Japan cut parts supplies. The rebound in production and a 60% surge in sales in the first quarter of the business year meant net profit was 250 times higher than a year earlier. Toyota raised its full-year sales target to 9.76 million vehicles for the calendar year, but it kept its fiscal year revenue and profit forecast the same as those it set in May.
We expect demand to drop in Japan when eco-car subsidies end, and we don't know how much the European debt crisis will affect the global market. These are all risk factors, so we have no choice but to be conservative and careful and keep our forecasts unchanged.
Honda and Nissan are also cautious about the outlook this year because the strong yen is eroding the value of overseas sales. But analysts say by keeping costs down and improving efficiency, Japanese car makers will see huge benefits if the Japanese currency starts to weaken.
So the quality of the profit is going to be quite good for the Japanese car makers, although they are struggling with the yen strengthening. Once yen is coming back to be weakening, then their earnings is likely to be much better than any other.
Toyota adjusted its foreign exchange forecasts, saying the euro will be 4 yen weaker this business year than earlier forecast.
Now, one of the ways that Toyota and the other big Japanese car makers are dealing with the Forex problem is making more in the countries where they sell it. That also makes them more responsive to any changes in the market. But Toyota has pledged to keep jobs in Japan, although it says that if it must continue manufacturing here, it also wants to see the government help it with tax breaks so it can sell more cars here in Japan.
Thanks very much, Mike Firn, live for us in Tokyo.